What's up, guys? The Toronto Maple Leafs have made a blockbuster trade acquiring Ryan O'Reilly and Noel Acciari. So, this came really late at night today. So it's a three-way trade essentially. You got St. Louis, Minnesota, and Toronto three-way trade. So St. Louis receives Mikhail Abramov and Adam Gaudette. Toronto's first round pick in 2023, Ottawa's third round pick in 2023, and Toronto's second round pick in 2024. Minnesota receives Toronto's fourth round pick in 2025. So, guys, we'd like to hear your thoughts about this trade. This is absolutely a crazy blockbuster that no one saw coming so late at night on a Friday night. But Ryan O'Reilly has been linked to the Toronto Maple Leafs for some time now, and the deal happens. It happens, and they have their guys. They get Noel Acciari, who, in my opinion, is a third line player, and they get Ryan O'Reilly, a bona fide first line or second line center. That is fantastic in terms of a return of what they get. So let's take a look at a Ryan O'Reilly. So at 32 years old, won the Stanley Cup with the St. Louis Blues a couple years back. Drafted in the second round, 33, by the Colorado Avalanche in 2009. He played for the St. Louis Blues for the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons. He was part of that whole blockbuster trade with Buffalo and St. Louis that included Tage Thompson. That was another deal that people like to dissect up until today. So St. Louis, essentially gives away a guy that wasn't having the greatest season. 19 points in 40 games, 12 goals, 7 assists. Minus 24 in terms of plus and minus, not the best for a guy that usually gets 50 to 60 points per season. Not only that, in looking at Noel Acciari, 31 years old, another center as well. Played with St. Louis this season, 54 points, 10 goals, 8 assists for 18 points. So, in terms of Ryan O'Reilly and Noel Acciari, they're very close in terms of points. Like I was saying before, he's a third line player, so that is somebody that adds more depth to the Toronto Maple Leafs. And now we have Luca, who probably just woke up right now from a
Bro,
nap.
I'm so
Um,
sorry. I'm so sorry that I missed this video live, bro. I just woke up. So like if you see me what you bro, I'll just jump in.
so we have Mikhail Abramov, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah.
a Russian player, 21 years old, a fourth round pick, 115th overall in 2019. Um, has yet to play a game for the Toronto Maple Leafs, but played for the Toronto Marlies. He was expected to, potentially make the Toronto Maple Leafs in years to come, but that's not going to be the case. He's going to be a member of the St. Louis Blues. But what are your thoughts, Luca, essentially on this trade? This is absolutely bonkers happening so late at night.
Holy shit, bro. So I literally just woke up, right? Like I woke up and I was like, what the fuck? And then I went to go check the trade and like I haven't even had time to process it. It's Ryan O'Reilly, Nola tried a first, a second, a third, and then for like Adam Gaudette,
Folks, we're
or
getting
and
a
Adam
live
Gaudette and
reaction
Mikhail
from
Abramov.
our we're getting
Anyways,
a live
I just
reaction from our
okay,
co-host.
okay. So I just got it. So I just got it because I just pulled it up on Twitter. Okay, one thing I'm gonna say is this. Okay, first of all, the Leafs add two decent players. O'Reilly, I know he hasn't had a great year, but he's played well in recent years. I think he's going to provide some offense for the Leafs that's going to help them. For the playoffs, he's going to help them in the playoff push. He's a cup winner as well with the Blues. That helps. Nola Chari, good depth guy for them. I think he's going to help them out a lot. So I have nothing bad to say about this trade for the Leafs, other than the fact that they gave up a lot of draft picks. So they're really going for it. I think they're sending a message to the league that this is their year to finally get over the hump. but a first, a second, a third, and a fourth. Obviously, the fourth goes to Minnesota. I mean, it's a good deal, and I think for the Blues too, you should be happy. You're getting a prospect. You get Adam Gaudette, who's meh, but at the end of the day, I think they care about the draft picks. And look, they get a first, like I said, a second, a third. So the Blues did well in this deal. I really can't complain. And if you're a Blues fan, you should be extremely happy with that return. And if you're the Leafs, that's a big shock. Late at night, you woke me up. God damn it, but it's okay. It's okay. We're here, but no, look, honestly speaking, like Ryan O'Reilly is a great pickup for the Leafs, and I think that this is going to be a move that may actually, go down for Kyle Dubas in the sense where this might be the move that saves his job in Toronto potentially. So this is a really interesting move. I like it from the Leafs perspective. I think it's a move that needed to be done. They get their big name, they get their big fish, and now it's game on now. And if like I said, we've always talked about how they were in on Timo Meyer. The clock is ticking for teams like Carolina and New Jersey. That's for sure, though.
We have a comment here that's pretty interesting. They're already comparing it to the Felino trade. Is it because Orion O'Reilly has been dealing with some injuries this year? Is it because they gave up way too much? Look, guys, this is a deal that essentially allows Kyle Dubas to essentially keep his job, in my opinion. This is a deal that allows the Toronto Maple Leafs to be very competitive. Guys, Ryan O'Reilly is a consummate Smite winner, okay? He was the best player in the playoffs for the St. Louis Blues when they won the Stanley Cup. This is a moment for them to be very proud that they get a guy with championship pedigree. That is a
Yeah,
thing that people need to take
absolutely.
into consideration. Noel Acciari, whatever, third line guy, fourth line guy, whatever. The centerpiece here is Ryan O'Reilly. So, yes, they did give up a lot, but you gave up a lot for a Stanley Cup winner. Yes, the guy's got 50, 60 points per season. He's not a guy who gets 70, 80 points, but the Toronto Maple Leafs didn't need that. They have John Tavares, William Nylander, Mitch Marner, Austin Matthews. Those are your key guys. These are the guys that are going to allow you to get a lot of goals. This guy, Ryan O'Reilly, is one of the best two-way centermen in the league. People forget about that. And I know a lot of people in the comments when we did the video with Steve Dangle were saying they don't need Timo Meyer. They need a guy that's big
Well,
and that's going to play a very strong two-way game. You got him. It's Ryan O'Reilly. Like,
yeah,
you guys, like you got your wish. Like Timo Meyer was not the answer. Patrick Kane is dealing with a hip injury. That's not the guy that you needed. This is the guy that you needed. You needed a guy with championship caliber. And I know a lot of people are saying, "Well, Patrick Kane has championship caliber, but is he good in terms of his two-way game?" No, he's good offensively. They have so many offensive weapons. They don't need that. They needed a strong two-way
yeah.
guy. That's Ryan O'Reilly. They got him. And yes, it's gonna cost you. You're trading for the captain of the St. Louis Blues. The St.
I
Louis Blues
wanna
are going through a rebuild. They need to maximize in terms of their trade value for their assets.
and I
It's a
want to say
no-brainer.
something. I want to say something. St. Louis. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna give Doug Armstrong a big round of applause here. This is a guy that came into this trade deadline looking for draft picks. And he essentially got a first round pick for Vladimir Tarasenko. He now got a first round pick for um, Ryan O'Reilly. This is a full on rebuild going on in St. Louis now, right? We kind of talked about it briefly. And I think what's interesting is that they still have Ivan Barbashev and potentially Colton Parayko to trade away. And it looks like it's going to be a fire sale here in St. Louis. But what's interesting is good on Doug Armstrong. He gets his assets, he gets his guys that he's looking for, and he trades away two pending free agents. For Toronto, listen, they got 75% retained on Ryan O'Reilly, 25% from Minnesota, 50% from St. Louis, and they get Josh Pillar, the Leafs, which I believe is a big winger that plays for the Saskatoon Blades. Not too familiar with him, but listen, it's another asset for Toronto. At the end of the day, I mean, listen, honestly, the I think the team that I think everybody wins in this deal. I think even Minnesota to some extent wins in this deal just because they just sit here and grab a draft pick, get rid of retain some salary. It's good for everybody. But honestly speaking, like if I had to pick a favorite here, I really like this deal for Toronto, and I can't believe I'm saying that as a Habs fan, but it's just because I genuinely believe that this is a move that gets them over the hump. I actually
Well,
do
look,
think that this might be the year for them.
Supreme Gold Horns, says it as well. Ryan O'Reilly, 2019 Cup champion. St. Louis gets the chance to retool with a first overall good for both sides. Like, and thank you as well for the compliment, Supreme. Like, this is a great deal for everyone involved. And in terms of the lineups, where does Ryan O'Reilly fit? He's a
But
center.
the Blues have 3 first-round picks this year. Holy crap, that's crazy.
Yeah. So
Wow,
in terms of where
that's
everyone
crazy.
fits in this new lineup moving forward, David Camp is playing center on the third line, so I'm guessing Ryan O'Reilly slides in there. Pontus Holmberg,
Nah, I think
uh,
O'Reilly probably plays on the wing. He
you
probably
think
goes in the
so?
second line with Tavares. Yeah, that's
So
remember what Steve Dangle said. Remember what he said on their
yeah,
video.
Steve
Like,
Dangle was saying that they needed a guy to close up their top six. So I'm
yeah,
assuming Alex Kerfoot goes down to the third line, and he plays
yeah.
as a left
O'Reilly
winger,
probably
Ryan
slots in
O'Reilly.
as a winger
And
or something.
Noel Acciari, where does he fit in this?
I mean, look, he could be a fourth line guy. I think there's guys like Joey Anderson that could potentially come out of the lineup. Holmberg's played well. I think the Leafs want to keep him there. Zach has to be same thing. I think Noel Charlie could be a decent fourth line guy, so depth guy as well. So probably replacing Joey Anderson. So around the fourth line, probably as a 13th forward. I don't see him playing every game for Toronto, but it really depends on what Sheldon Keefe wants to do. I think the I think for O'Reilly, he probably slots next to Tavares and Marner, but I wouldn't be surprised if Keefe plays around with that. At the end of the day, I think Toronto's top six now is probably the best in the league. With the acquisition of Ryan O'Reilly, up there with the Rangers for sure. And so yeah, Kerfoot's gonna be slot down to the third line, and then we'll see what happens. Obviously, with Yarncroke and Engvall, I do believe Toronto might make one more move, in the sense where they might move, a fourth line guy out because they do have a lot of forwards. But um, I think for the time being, I mean, Noel Acciari is a depth guy, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, no, I think O'Reilly's like Steve Dangle said, Sheldon Keefe's going to play him in every situation. I think he's going to play power play. I think he's going to play penalty kill as well. But at the same time, he's also not expected to be the guy in Toronto, which I think is going to help the Leafs add him a lot. And good on Ryan O'Reilly. I mean, look, this is a guy that, like you mentioned before, won a Stanley Cup. But the other thing too is that, he's going to bring a lot of playoff experience, and like the Leafs don't have to sign him at the end of the year. He's an unrestricted free agent, so this is a really good move, I think, for both teams. And yeah, so I mean, Toronto did well here. And
Yeah, well, look, I guess Patty Kane is not going to Toronto. So
nope,
Patty Kane loses out on an opportunity to be a New York Ranger and a Toronto Maple Leaf now. So where the hell is Patty Kane ending up
no
at
way.
this
He's gonna
point?
stay. She's gonna stay in Chicago.
Or he goes to Dallas. We'll see what happens there.
He's
At
gonna stay in
at this
Chicago.
point, I think he's not mobbing,
Yeah, he's not moving.
unless
That's
someone
hoping.
overpays. The Leafs would have been better to get Luke Shen for a third. They don't need more offense. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, look, at this point, you go big or go home, right? And I think that Kyle Dubas addressed the need, a need in the sense where he wants to essentially outscore the other team. But Toronto hasn't been bad defensively, and I think that there hasn't really been a big name available apart from Jacob Chikrin that I think would make them better, to be honest, defensively. So I don't think that Dubas it was necessarily a need, and I think for Luke Shen, he's kind of similar to what Connor Timmins is now, anyways, and a little bit of what Justin Hall was in the past. So I'm not too surprised they didn't go for Luke Shen. I mean, he still can. There's still time, but I think for now, this is a better move for the Leafs. I don't know if they add a defenseman. It really depends on what Dubas wants to do next. I know he said he wanted to in his press conference, but he basically just did the opposite. He went to go acquire a defensive forward in Noel Acciari and a two-way forward in Ryan O'Reilly. So I think he addresses that need, anyways, with those two acquisitions. So I don't think Luke Shen ends up being a Leaf, but I disagree with this comment essentially just because, like I said, I don't think Luke Shen threads the needle for Toronto. I think it's a good move for them, but I don't think he makes them 100 times better than they already are, in my opinion.
So let's see what's going on here in Twitter. So Okay, so another key
Okay.
aspect: 50% of Ryan O'Reilly is retained.
No, 50 from
Um,
St. Louis, 25 from Minnesota, so 75 total.
okay, perfect. Okay, that makes more sense. Um, okay,
Yeah.
wow. Like I was actually at first I thought it was a two. It was just a two-team deal, but I guess not.
Yeah,
It's
the,
three. But
Minnesota just
oh
gets a
my
fourth
God,
round pick.
look how much they stacked up. Okay, so Toronto also receives Josh Pillar. That's
Yeah,
another
that's what
piece
I
that
had
they
too.
add.
Yeah, from
Okay, so
Minnesota in for the fourth round pick that they got. So basically, Minnesota retains 25% and gets a fourth round pick, but they also trade away Josh Pillar, who I have no idea who that guy is. But I mean, listen, it's an asset at the end of the day. So
let's see who Josh Pillar is. But Luca, which deal is better for St. Louis? The Tarasenko deal that includes Mikola, or the Ryan O'Reilly deal that
I think
includes
they got more for I
Acciari?
think they got more for O'Reilly than they did for Tarasenko, to be honest.
Okay, so Josh Pillar, 21
I
years
like the
old,
O'Reilly deal better. The
Saskatchewan,
reason I like
Saskatchewan, Saskatchewan, 5'11", drafted by Minnesota, but he's
fourth round pick.
unsigned,
Okay.
fourth round pick in 2021. So nothing
Mm.
interesting
No,
there.
but just going back to what you asked me before about the Tarasenko deal, I mean, listen, I'm not gonna lie to you. I think they did better in the O'Reilly deal than they did in Tarasenko, but um honestly speaking, like we talked about it on the podcast, they could have got a lot more for Tarasenko than what they did. And so I think that it's a testament to well, how valuable I think Ryan O'Reilly was, but I just think that Toronto also overpaid because they really wanted him. But you know what? I think St. Louis did well in both deals. I think St. Louis right now are probably winning the trade deadline in the sense where they're getting a shit ton of assets. And look, I mean, it's rebuild mode in St. Louis, but you know what? They have three first round picks, like I said before. They're gonna have, I believe it's three first round picks. They're gonna have a second round pick, two thirds, and two fourths, I believe, as well. So it's gonna be very interesting for the Blues. And I also don't think they're not done. They still have Barbashev that
And
they have to trade away.
Perico.
Oh, I just want to address this comment really quickly because I disagree with this. Lol, O'Reilly is a bust, minus 24, 19 points. Okay, listen, no roids, just rage. I'm gonna say something. Don't look at Ryan O'Reilly's stats from this season. I think you have to look at it from a broader perspective. This is a guy that's been a St. Louis Blue for a long time, and he's been a big part of the reason why they've been so successful. Yes, he's had a rough year this year. I think the whole Blues team has, but I don't think you should look at those numbers directly and call him a bust. I don't think he is that. I think he's going to provide a lot of offense to Toronto and make a difference for them. It's been a rough year for him, but you know what? It was a rough year for Tarasenko as well. So I'm not, I disagree with that comment in the sense that he's a bust. He's a good player. I think he's going to help Toronto out a lot. So that's just kind of my opinion. I don't really know what else to say, but I that's kind of my opinion on the whole thing. I think that,
Let's see what Jay Fresh says right here. So Ryan O'Reilly acquired by Toronto is a top six two-way playmaking center. So that's what I was saying before. A very good two-way center who typically has a very strong defensive impact. His production is down this year, but he's still creating chances at high rate. Big statement for the Leafs. So as you could see here, very
oh my god.
defensive-minded player.
The
Um,
Ryan O'Reilly and Acciari are scheduled to arrive for tomorrow's game versus Montreal. They might actually play tomorrow. That's funny.
wow.
That's gonna be
That's
funny.
crazy.
First game as a
Well,
Leaf against the Habs.
I
That's gonna
mean,
be funny.
it's crazy how like Steve Dangle came on our podcast like literally 2 days ago, and we're like talking about like who
No,
the main piece was gonna be, and
do
he
you
was
want to know
hoping
what's
for
crazy?
Timo Meyer,
Do
and
you want to
that didn't happen. So,
do you want to
Steve,
know
we'd
what's
like to hear your
crazy?
thoughts.
You want to know what's crazy? You want to know what's even more crazy? Jacob Chikrin and Vladislav Gavrikov have been healthy scratched for a week for trade related reasons, and yet fucking Ryan O'Reilly got traded before both of them, bro. It doesn't make any sense. But anyways, like
It
that's
looks like
just
St. Louis is not gonna really have anything left to trade by the deadline. It looks like
that's fine.
they're gonna be
Do your business before, and then take a nap. So
Yeah, they only have really Barbashev and Perieko. It's not really guaranteed they're gonna trade him yet. So,
I think
I mean,
Barbashev's probably the only one that left that's gone. I think out of the big names, I don't think they move Pareko unless a big deal
and
comes in.
apparently they may get a first round pick for him as well.
Four first
So
rounders, Jesus.
apparently they're asking for like a first or a second. So I
Kent
mean,
Hughes,
if
bro,
they could get that for
wake up, man.
Barbashev.
Kent
So
Hughes, wake
let's
up,
talk
man.
about something that's very, very important here now. How does this affect the Toronto Maple Leafs heading into the playoffs? Can they finally pass the
Yes,
first round?
yes, yes. I think they can. I think they're better than. I think right now, if they have to play Tampa, they're fully suited to play Tampa. I think if they can add a defenseman, great. But right now, if I look at both teams on paper, Toronto's gonna match up against Tampa nicely. And in my opinion, if they do decide to put O'Reilly on the third line, well, Toronto's forward depth is a lot better than Tampa. I know Tampa beats them defensively, but and net obviously, but I think that they can, with the acquisition of O'Reilly, get over the hump against Tampa. That's just my opinion. I think people might disagree with me on that, but I just think that this is the move that I think gets them there. So we'll see.
And Frank Saravelli has reported in terms of this trade and with Kyle Dubas essentially stated that Ryan O'Reilly and Acciari are rentals, and Toronto gives up a first, second, third, and fourth round picks to do that. So, I mean, look, I'm very, very impressed about this deal. Let's take a look here. Ryan O'Reilly is the fourth former Conn Smythe Trophy winner to go on and play for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Brian Leach in 1994, Jean-Sebastien Giguère in 2003, and Joe Nieuwendyk. I think that's how you pronounce his name
You and
in
Dev.
1999. So, wow. I don't know. I'm really speechless. Like, look, Ryan O'Reilly was connected to the Toronto Maple Leafs like months ago. He was the first player connected to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Then recently we got Timo Meyer,
Yeah.
all these names, and it doesn't happen. Like none of those guys from the start, we got it right. It was going to be Ryan O'Reilly all along. And who thought that Noel Acciari was going to be connected to them? But guys, we're going to continue doing this live stream, but if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please subscribe to our channel. It means so much. And you guys obviously are probably Toronto fans tuning into this. So if you want to take a look at the Steve Dangle video that we did about 2 days ago, you guys could take a look on that deal. It probably squashes everything we spoke about in that video. So, the only thing that's probably relevant in that deal, in that video essentially about possible deals is probably adding a defenseman like Jake McCabe from the Chicago Blackhawks, or maybe a guy like Luke Shen. But we'll see what happens there. Um, we're open to taking some questions now or your thoughts, and we'll continue this Q&A slash NHL trade breakdown about Ryan O'Reilly being a member of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And let's see what Gravitas says here. St. Louis Blues now have 3 first round picks and in one of the best drafts in recent memory. I'm sick. Well, he's a Dallas Stars fan, so it
And
only
they have a
makes
lottery
sense.
pick as of right now.
Yeah. Blues won
So
3 straight, and Armstrong was like, okay, that's enough. Blues coming for Bedard, trade away everybody. Man,
what's the Blues schedule? I'm actually so curious. Wait. Their next 5 games are Colorado, Ottawa, Carolina, Vancouver, Pittsburgh. I mean, yeah, that makes sense. I don't
I
know. We'll
mean,
see. We'll see. I
I
still
mean,
think they're
look.
a good team, though. Like on
Then there's
paper, at
your
least.
comment there about the whole deal that
Oh
went
yeah,
down.
sorry. Part of my language. I woke up and I was like, "What?"
Well, here we have a picture of Ryan O'Reilly as a member of the Toronto Maple Leafs, so that's awesome.
I'll be
Um,
honest. It looks weird.
I
It looks
think
really
this is
weird.
like honestly, I think out of all the guys available, he's the one that kind of like fits what the Toronto Maple Leafs essentially needed. And I'm really, I look, this is by far one of the best trade deadline deals we've seen in terms of what Dubas has done. This is not the Nick Foligno trade, guys. You got to calm down about that. Nick Foligno, even when he was traded, in my eyes, he was a third line player. I'm sorry. Hate me all you want. Yes, great leader, captain of the Columbus Blue Jackets for many years, but they literally gave a boatload for a third line player. Ryan O'Reilly is not a third line player. He's a first line or second line center. And people need to understand that injuries um, hurt him this year. Injuries hurt the St. Louis Blues as a whole, and St. Louis was bad this year. So
Yeah,
it obviously
agree.
takes a toll on everybody. It takes a toll on everyone. So you could see the same thing about Patrick Kane and Jonathan Taves. Like, who the hell is there to play with at this point in Chicago? Of course, they're not at the same level of production that they're normally supposed to be at in terms of getting points. Alex DeBrincat was traded. Kirby Doc was traded. They liquidated that team in Chicago. St.
Yeah.
Louis is liquidating their team. They're rebuilding. They're going for it. This is a year in 2023 that the draft is going to be one of the deepest drafts in recent memory. So this is the year to want to tank. This is the year to want to essentially be a rebuilding team. That I have St. Louis being a rebuilding team this season? No way. No one had that in mind. The St. Louis Blues, by far, are the most surprising team, and not in the way that you guys think. In terms of, this is a team that, in my eyes, I saw them as competitive, making the playoffs, and they are not making the playoffs. They're going through a full rebuild.
Yeah, well, I think the other thing too is that people like this is really a buyer's market now. Like I know that a lot of big names that got traded by Bo Horvat, Vladimir Tarasenko, even Ryan O'Reilly. But you know what's interesting too, and I know I don't want to bring up the Islanders. We're talking about the Leafs here, but the Canucks got less for Bo Horvat than St. Louis did for Ryan O'Reilly. Right? Obviously, Vancouver got a better prospect, but like in terms of draft picks, they got less for Bo Horvat than St. Louis did for Ryan O'Reilly. I think that's crazy. But the other thing too is that look, I think that no matter what happens, like even with St. Louis, okay, like yes, it's a shock that they weren't that good this year. But you know what? Like I kind of saw it coming a little bit. They've really had this situation now where for a while they were underperforming and underachieving. I think Jordan Binnington wasn't playing at the highest level that he was supposed to. And I think, you know what, like, let's be honest, St. Louis, like, we already knew that Tarasenko wanted to get traded, and there was a possibility of Ryan O'Reilly. I think this was expected, and I think St. Louis now is fully embracing it. Look, it's a draft year that you want to be a part of anyways. There's a chance at Bedard. The draft class is good. I think St. Louis did a good job here, and I think no matter what happens, like, they've got 3 first-round picks now, so they're in a very good position, and a position that I think they want to be in. And I think we'll see. Like, I wonder how Blues fans feel, just because you know Ryan O'Reilly was a big part of their team, but at the same time, it's part of the business, it's part of the reality, and I think that if you're Ryan O'Reilly, you must feel good about the opportunity of winning a cup.
This is
Um,
an interesting question. Does Tavares move to the wing? Um, my co-host and I believe that it's going to be Ryan O'Reilly that moves
they're
to the
gonna
wing,
rotate.
or they could potentially rotate. That's a possibility as well. But
They're gonna
now your
rotate.
top six is Bunting, Matthews, Marner. That's your first line. Your second line is potentially going to be Ryan O'Reilly, Tavares, and Nylander. That is one of the best top
Yeah.
six in the NHL. And not only that, you add a guy who won the Conn Smythe and a guy who is a playoff performer and one of the best two-way centermen in the league. Honestly, yeah, maybe Ryan O'Reilly is more suited to be the center, and Tavares should move to the wing. But I don't know. It all they have now. They make this trade with enough games to figure it out, essentially to test out who's going to be playing on the wing, Tavares or O'Reilly, or does O'Reilly move to the third line and play as a third line center, which would be a complete waste in my opinion. But maybe they want to be balanced, and if they do that, their three centers are Matthews, Tavares, and Ryan O'Reilly. That's the best center depth in the league, easily by far. So honestly, um, they could do whatever they want at this point. They have so many pieces to move around at this point, and they're gonna get away with it essentially. And hopefully, this transitions into the playoffs, and hopefully this move was not made for nothing, and that Ryan O'Reilly could help the Toronto Maple Leafs pass the first round, because if there's any guy that's going to do it, it's going to be a guy with championship pedigree that knows what it takes to win, and
Yeah,
that's Ryan O'Reilly.
agreed. And I think, we'll see. I mean, I'm just excited to see how he does in Toronto. I think for the Blues, they're gonna get a prospect. I think Abramov is a guy that is done decent in the AHL. Gaudette is just a throw-in. But those draft picks are going to be very interesting, and I'm curious to see who they drafted those draft picks as well, and where those draft picks end up being. I know probably late because the Blues and the Rangers and the Leafs are probably going to go far, but even at that, I mean, 3 first-round picks is already impressive enough. And now, obviously, just to answer Sean's question, he wrote, "Can't compare Mo Horvat's trade and value. Leafs don't have the cap space to sign both the way the Islanders do. 75% of O'Reilly's contract was retained by both Minnesota and St. Louis." That's true, and obviously, when cap space gets retained, obviously the value becomes higher. So I agree with that comment a little bit. Obviously, I was comparing it in terms of the fact that like they're both centers. And obviously, with Horvat signing an extension, I personally feel like that was an underwhelming return for Vancouver. But I do get your point, and obviously you are right to an extent where because O'Reilly's contract got retained by 75%, like his value ends up going higher. That's true. And then I just want to answer John's question really quickly here. He goes, "Should the Leafs trade Kerfoot to the Blues?" Um, I mean, look, Kerfoot, and then Dangle talked about it on a video as well, that the Leafs should have traded Kerfoot when they had the chance. I think there's an opportunity now where, look, if the Leafs want to do it, they can. They do have a lot of forwards. I do think that if the Leafs want to clear up some cap space just like that, they definitely can do it. And the other thing too is that they now get to throw Jake Muzzin on LTIR. The Leafs, which I believe he already was, but now they get the $5 million accrued from that, which makes it super interesting. Plus, if they do decide to move Kerfoot, which I don't think they will, but they could, I think that that makes a lot of sense for them as well. So, I don't, like I said, I don't really know what else to say about this trade. I think it's a good move for
Well,
them.
actually, you were talking about the range of where they can be drafting with all these first round picks. I think you should definitely take out the list and see who they could potentially draft. St. Louis has um, the Rangers first
Hold
round
on.
pick and the Toronto Maple Leafs first round pick. And if they're going to be teams that go deep into the playoffs, it's interesting to see who they could potentially draft, especially with their own pick. That would be
Give me a
another interesting thing
second.
to look at. So I'm gonna take some more questions here while Luca pulls up the
No,
prospect
I mean, it
list.
depends. Okay, so like, look, right now, as it stands, Toronto's got the 26th pick, right? And then St. Louis would have Dallas's pick, which is 31st, because it's the later of the two picks. So as of right now, according to Tankathon, which isn't super reliable, but that's their mock draft at the moment, they're gonna draft Gavin Brindley, who's a 5'9" forward right winger. He's actually playing really well. He's in Michigan currently, at 26 with that pick. And then at 31, they would draft a defenseman, which is Caden Price. And obviously, with their first pick, the Blues, which is ninth overall, they would end up probably drafting Braden Yager. So it's three guys that I think they can draft. I think it's really hard to tell because it's going to be hard to tell right now just because the mock drafts can pretty much change at all times. But one thing I can tell you is that this draft class is deep to the point where I think even up to round three, round four, you're going to get potentially hidden assets. And I think St. Louis has three shots at that in the first round, plus shots at it in the second round and third rounds. So they're in for a good thing. But I do think that a guy like Gavin Brindley and even Braden Yager to some extent as well are going to be good pickups for the Blues if those are the two guys they end up drafting. But I mean, they do need to replace those forwards anyways. So Yager replaces kind of what O'Reilly was, and Brindley could be what not necessarily what Tarasenko was, but a good dynamic forward for them if they decide to draft those guys and they're available at those picks. So
So, as a Blues fan, I wish we got Nyes. So, Matthew Nyes has been a prospect that everyone's been talking about
yeah,
in
they can
terms of
also check
Toronto
it.
trade rumors. Oh, if they get Ryan O'Reilly, if they get Timo Meyer, if they get any of these guys, they have to give up Matthew Nyes. That's one thing I'll give Dubas credit for, is that in the last two trade deadlines where Matthew Nyes has been in high demand in any possible trade, he has gone around that and made deals without giving up Matthew Nyes, who he strongly believes will be a key piece to the Toronto Maple Leafs in years to come. So for me, not only that, I think that's another reason why Toronto is a winner in this deal as well. Um, Jace Roberts, O'Reilly has not been the same player. I think it's a win for St. Louis. Okay, yeah, we'll see what happens. Guys, look, this trade will, dictate whether or not Toronto, passes the first round. And if they do, then we can say that, look, this is a good, first step for the Toronto Maple Leafs, where they gave up a lot, but they got over the hump essentially. But how far can the Toronto Maple Leafs go after they pass the first round? And will Ryan O'Reilly help their cause in going on a deep playoff run for the first time in God knows how long? They haven't won the Stanley Cup in what, 1967, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Toronto,
The
yeah.
Yeah, so guys, it's getting really really long there. Brandon Lee, Leafs won 1.875 hit on Ryan O'Reilly if they play him down the center. All four centers are above 55% on the face-off dot. That's very important, especially heading into the playoffs. You need guys that win faceoffs. You need guys that are going to recuperate the puck, bring it back to your defenseman. Your defensemen are going to bring it to the offensive zone and play to your wingers and generate some offense. That is very important because let's say it's OT, right? 3v3, for example, and Ryan O'Reilly's taking a face off, you are more than confident that he's going to win the face off and it's going to be in your possession. Let's say if you had another center, for example, taking that face off and they lose the face off and it goes to the other team and it leads to a goal and you lose an overtime, especially if it's like a game 7 versus Tampa, that's a huge, huge, huge problem after. We got more questions here. EJ Hayes, as a Blues fan, we saw this coming. Let's be real. I just feel bad for my 5-year-old neighbor. He was good friends with Ryan O'Reilly's kid. They're on the same hockey team, and wanted him at his birthday. Wow, that's very sad. I'm sorry to hear that. This is part of the business, unfortunately. Players get dealt, and it doesn't matter who you're friends with and how tightly knit you are in the community or in the organization. If you get a fantastic deal essentially to unload a player, especially if he's going to be a UFA, you got to do it. And in this case, St. Louis is rebuilding. This is what they got to do. It's the only thing that makes sense for them moving forward. They won their Stanley Cup. Tarasenko wanted out. Ryan O'Reilly, he's getting up there in age. They need to rebuild. And essentially, these moves are dictating that they are, in fact, going to be rebuilding from here on out. So we got so many questions. Let's try to answer every single one here. So John Walsh's prediction is round 3 for the Toronto Maple Leafs to make it. In the last 9 months, all Dubas has done is acquire people with multiple players who have won cups and gone deep in playoffs. Every single time they get there, I like that. Yeah, adding some championship pedigree or some playoff experience is always a great
Dubas
thing.
may have gotten himself a new contract if this plays out well. I mean, listen, he's expiring at the end of the year. He basically has to prove to upper management that they want to keep him, and we'll see. I mean, look, if this fails, essentially, he's gone. It's really just a situation of this needs to work out for them. They have no other choice, so we'll see what
Yeah,
happens.
I know there was people like on our Steve Dangle video that were saying that he's gonna leave regardless. Like it's too much pressure for him. He wants to become a general manager elsewhere. And honestly, that is possible, but where does he go? Does he go to Nashville and replace David Poley if he decides to retire or step down or get fired? Does he go to Calgary if Brad Treliving decides not to, that he's not going to return, or if he doesn't get an extension? Where does he go essentially, Dubas, if he wants out of Toronto? But I mean, I think what these moves, he's clearly trying to state that he wants to be with the Toronto Maple Leafs moving forward. Uh, Jose Roberts, St. Louis really didn't have a choice here. This um, Okay, this May team had to make yeah. Okay, this team had to make changes. Three first rounders
Yeah.
and freed up cap
Mhm.
gives them options they need. Yeah,
Mhm.
and not only that, if they're freeing up cap, they could take on some bad contracts and gain more picks too. Did you ever think about that?
Yeah, I mean it's a possibility. I think like look, out of all the comments that are here, like, there's a lot of really good ones. I mean, look, to be honest, like I agree with a lot of people's comments that are basically like saying that, the Blues did well here. I think everybody is kind of right. Brandon Lee saying I have a feeling Kerfoot or Shen might be coming soon. Listen, guys, can we stop with this Shen thing for a second? Like, guys, guys, just stop, all right?
Everyone's
Like Kyle
excited. I don't
Dubas is
blame
not
them. This
trading.
is
Kyle
this is
Dubas is
huge
not
for the
making
Toronto
27
Maple
trades
Leafs.
here, guys. He's gonna trade if Kerfoot get. I don't know if Kerfoot gets traded. I don't know why people are starting to think that Kerfoot's gonna get traded. I mean, at this point, like they don't really need to, but if they want to, sure. But like, can we stop with the Shen thing, bro? He's probably ending up in Boston. Like, I think that's most likely what's gonna happen, or like Tampa or something. But no, I don't think that that's gonna happen. And then there's what else is there? Um, oh no, this one's interesting. Leafs aren't done yet. Kerfoot will be on his way out. Something will be coming in support of the offense. Don't be surprised if Kane is coming. Whoa, whoa, okay.
Whoa,
Listen,
that's some
guys.
wishful thinking,
Ken,
guys.
Ken, listen.
That's
I know that we're not playing NHL GM mode here. All right. We can't just trade everybody for the superstars. Unfortunately, that's not how it works. There's a salary cap. I don't first of all acquiring Kane with this roster just wouldn't work. So I don't think that that's gonna happen. Brandon Lee again. Is there a chance where a package of Kerfoot plus Hall plus a prospect may get you McCabe? I mean, yes, there is a chance that happens. It's just a question of whether or not Dubas wants to do it. And not. The other thing is too is that although Hall and Kerfoot are still fringe players technically, I mean you never can have too much depth. And I think in this case, like, yeah, if there's an opportunity to trade Kerfoot and Hall, like I think you do it. But I just don't know. Chicago's looking for a lot for Jake McCabe, and I just don't think that Toronto's going to necessarily have what it takes to get him now that they traded away their first round pick. So that I don't know if that's going to happen. And then Ethan goes Kerfoot and Robinson for Kane. No. Dubas wants to see this thing through. He wouldn't want to see this through. He's invested so much to his vision. Yes, but at the same time, there's playoff success that goes into it, and I think that no matter what, like, he needs to help a team that's going to win the Stanley Cup, and they just haven't gotten past the first round. So he really needs to get past the first round this year. If he does, great. The contract extension is going to be there. If he doesn't, then maybe he's not the right man for the job. And then it's going to say thoughts on who wears the C for St. Louis now. Uh, I don't know. Maybe they don't name a captain for now. Maybe they decide
oh,
to.
I have a guy in mind, Jordan
Who-
Kyrou. I
You think
think
so?
I think he would be the future captain of the St.
I
Louis
don't know.
Blues.
I think it's still early.
It's not
I
going to be Buchnevich. It's not going to be maybe Robert Thompson. That could be a possibility
Robert
too.
Thomas. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I don't think Cairo doesn't give me captain material, to be honest. That's just me.
Leafs overpaid for sure. I mean,
No.
look what they got in terms of the player, especially Noel Acciari as well. They're going all in, and that's what you have to pay in terms of being a contender. And if you want to go far in the playoffs, and Toronto really, really wants to get over that first round hump, this is what they're gonna have to do. And I think teams are
Okay. Okay. I don't want to. I don't want to pick a fight with anyone on StreamYard tonight, but like, listen, okay. I understand what the report says. I understand that, but this was tweeted out before Ryan O'Reilly got traded to Toronto. All right, Patrick Kane's not going to Toronto, guys. Let's take that away
and he's
from
not
now.
going to the Rangers anymore.
It's not happening. All right. If that happens, guys, I'll make a deal with you guys right now for the 63 people that are currently in the live stream. If Patrick Kane goes to Toronto, I will buy a Leafs jersey with his number on the back of it. Okay, and I will wear it on a podcast. That's how confident I am that
Don't
he's not
forget
going
to
to Toronto.
subscribe too, guys, if you
Guys,
want to see that happen.
that's how confident I am. All right, I'm not trying to pick a fight with anyone tonight, but like I'm so confident Patrick Kane's not going to Toronto that if he does, I'll buy his jersey and I'll put number 88 on the back of it. Like, or whatever.
Uh,
Not 88 because
Hey, we
Nylander's
got a
already
Habs
drafted.
fan here. For real, I'm a Habs fan, and I want the Leafs to win first round. I'm so excited for this trade.
Oh no,
See,
no,
this is
no,
somebody that
no.
gets me. I know
Disagree.
Steve Dangle was making fun of
Disagree.
me last time, but I
Nah.
said it. I just
nah.
want a cup back in Canada. I don't care who wins it. It's since '93 that we haven't had the cup back in Canada. Who cares if it's Toronto? I know there's a whole rivalry between Montreal and Toronto, but who cares? It's better than
No.
having an American team win it
I'm sorry,
every
guys.
single year. It's time
I
to bring the cup back home to Canada.
I
Jesus,
don't
let's
wanna.
go.
I'm a Habs fan, but listen, guys. Montreal and Toronto have a big rivalry to the point where Um, I don't want to see Toronto be successful. Anyways, I want to answer Ethan because he's asked this question 3 times and we've ignored him. So I feel bad. I'm so sorry, Ethan. Please forgive us. What about Bertuzzi? I mean, listen, you know what? Bertuzzi's the type of player that I think would actually fit Toronto's system really well. The problem is, and this is the other thing too, kind of with the Patrick Kane situation, the Leafs have no cap space right now. And like the other thing is too, is that because of the fact that they've acquired O'Reilly, I just don't think they're gonna go for another forward. It doesn't mean that they won't, but I just think that right now, with everything going on, they're going to focus on defense. They've already acquired 2 forwards. I just don't see them acquiring another one. And even if they have to trade Kerfoot, it's just, I don't think that it makes sense for them to do that. But I do think that Tyler Bertuzzi would have been a good pickup for the Leafs, had they not got anybody else. So yeah, I don't think it's a
Hey, this is
bad
a good one too.
option.
The experience Nice gets playing with O'Reilly on the third line would be unbelievable.
Yeah,
That's
I think
if
so.
Nice does play with the Toronto Maple Leafs heading into the playoffs. I mean, I don't know if that's even a possibility. Where's Matthew Nice playing right now? With the Marlies?
No, he's in the NCAA. He's playing at
Okay, so I mean, once the season's done, he could join the team, right?
yeah. He's gonna sign a
So
contract. He plays for um why am I drawing a blank? He's playing for Minnesota, I believe. Yeah, University of Minnesota. Okay, why did I draw a blank for a second? I'm so lost. But anyways, yeah, no, yeah, Nyes is a good player. I think Leaf fans are really high on him, and I think that if he gets the opportunity to play with even guys like Matthews and Tavares, not just Nylander, like he's gonna have some good experience with him, and it's gonna be good for him to experience that as well. And I mean, look, Toronto, like guys, Toronto's stacked now. Like, forget it, man. They were already stacked before, but now they add O'Reilly, they add Achari. Now they're gonna add Matthew Nyes potentially to that. Like, they don't need any more forwards, guys. They really don't need any more
Just to
forwards.
answer the question, no, we do not believe
No,
that they get King.
no.
Um, like we spoke about with Steve Dangle, you're getting one of the big boys. It was either Ryan O'Reilly, Timo Meyer, Patrick Kane. It was one of those guys. And at one point, maybe even Tarasenko was maybe in the conversation before he got traded. And in this case, your big boy is Ryan O'Reilly. It
Yeah.
closes the case. You can't. There's no way. At this point, I think the only thing Toronto does is maybe move out some salary. Maybe Kerfoot could be moved out, like you guys are alluding to. Um, but they need a Muzzin replacement. They need a Muzzin's probably not going to come back this season. We don't know what's his status. Uh, even past this season, they're going to need a guy to bring in on defense, a defensive minded guy. Jake McCabe or Joel Edmondson or Gavrikov
Okay.
fit that mold of what a solid Jake Muzzin replacement would be. Um,
Guys,
so
we're gonna answer a couple of more questions just because, hey, guys, it's midnight and we've been here for 48 minutes. Not that we don't want to talk to you, but it's like at some point we gotta end this video. So
Luca
like,
got. I woke up Luca for this, and honestly, I'm very
bro,
happy I did.
I'm tired. I'm tired, man. Not just that, is I have to wake up early tomorrow, anyways. But like, look, I'm gonna stay a little bit longer. We'll answer a few more questions, but it's just we can't keep this going forever. We also have a video that needs to process as well. So guys, just understand that a little bit. But anyways, well, there was one comment I wanted to address.
I'm gonna
I
cover
forgot
this
this one.
question while you look for that one. Blues will
Okay, I
still
found it.
trade Barbashev
Yes.
100%. If they got the return that they did for Mikola and Tarasenko and now O'Reilly and Acciari, Barbashev is the next one to go.
Yeah.
They are stacking up. They are rebuilding. They don't care anymore. They are done. They're done. They're not going to be competitive for the next couple of years. They have Jordan Kyrou. They have Robert Thomas. That's what they're going to build around. That's their future moving forward. It's as
Agreed.
simple as that.
Anyways, The other one there was this one, yeah. Okay, if you want to give Nice a chance to line up, I'm almost 100% sure Kerfoot has to go to make room. I think Kerfoot plus Hall plus future may, because no retention is needed. Again, Kerfoot plus Hall plus future picks. It depends on what you're trading away, right? And the other thing too is that to make room. I mean, Matthew Nice is on an entry level deal. You don't really need to make room. Roster move. I mean, look, at the end of the day, what you send down Joey Anderson, you send down Pontus Holmberg, there's roster move there for it to work for Nice. So I don't necessarily think they need to move Kerfoot. I think you guys just want Kerfoot to leave. But I think in terms of that, I mean, look, Kerfoot Hall, yes. Future picks, it depends what picks they are. But the other thing too is you have to take into consideration, does Jake McCabe want to go to Toronto? And the other question becomes, is Chicago going to get a better offer for Jake McCabe? I think the answer is yes. I don't think they want Kerfoot. I also don't think they want Justin Hall. I could be wrong, Brandon, but that's just kind of my opinion on this. And then what else? Corey Foster says Boston still scares me. I mean, look, if you're a Leaf fan, you most likely won't have to play Boston in the first round, so it's not something you should be worried about, at least for round one. So there's that. And then what else is there? Oh, Bido wrote, if, and that's a big if, Muzzin could be ready for game one at the perfect health, this team would be scary. Agreed. I think Jake Muzzin provides a lot of help for the Leafs. Unfortunately, he's been dealing with a lot of injuries at the moment. There's no guarantees he may ever play again. But yeah, if he is back for game one, I think there's definitely a possibility of this team making a big push, and obviously they're going to be scary. Um, right, he's not worth a second on a good team. I mean, look, at this point, it's not about whether he's worth. It's about the fact that they retain 75% in total. So the value goes up. Anyways, guys, listen.
Well, I mean,
What
I
I'm
don't
gonna
mind going. I mean, I don't mind staying on a little bit longer
Okay,
and
I'm gonna
answering more
I'm
questions.
gonna go, guys, just because I need to wake up early tomorrow. But it was a pleasure talking to you guys. It's been a great video. Thank all of you guys for tuning in. I appreciate it a lot. I will catch you guys in the next episode, but Chris will keep you guys busy for the time being. All right.
Yeah.
So
So
good
let's
night,
answer
ciao,
some
ciao
more
guys.
questions by Luca. So, you know who else doesn't want Justin Hall? Leafs fans. Yeah. So in terms of what's going on with the whole Justin Hall situation, he got scratched last game, but apparently Connor Timmins is getting scratched in the upcoming game. Connor Timmins has been an absolute steal in terms of acquiring him since they made the deal with the Arizona Coyotes. He's been very very good, and I think Sheldon Keefe's excuse essentially was, "Hey, by the way, I didn't like the two penalties he took." That was like the first time he took penalties in like 10 games. He didn't have any penalties before that. So, I mean, that didn't really make any sense to me, in my opinion. Justin Hall, it seems like Sheldon Keefe really, really likes him for some reason. I honestly do not understand why, but it is what it is. I'll be rooting for the Leafs this year. I'm usually pulling for them. But now more than ever, as a Blues fan, I know the pain of yearly pain. I hope you get to experience to win the cup. Well, that's very nice of you, especially for uh, a St. Louis fan, especially a guy who just traded their captain away to the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's really nice to hear. Chikrin to the Leafs. I don't think. Um, that's gonna happen essentially. I highly, highly doubt it. But he's linked to the LA Kings. I think that's where he ends up going. Smack the like button, everybody. Also, smack um the subscribe button, guys, as well. That's very key. Or we're trying to hit 2K as soon as possible. So thank you so much, Joe. It's really nice of you. Leafs head coach like Alex Kyle. I don't know who Alex Kyle is. I'm sorry. Wicked trade gave them nothing. I mean, I guess. I mean, whatever. I guess we'll go for 6 more minutes, guys, if that's okay with you guys, because we're gonna be reaching the 1 hour mark. So I think that's more appropriate. But if you guys have any more questions with 6 minutes left, let us know. That would be very, really appreciated to see. And I'll take the time to answer your questions. Let's see if we're missing anyone here. Um, Leafs are contract limit, I believe. So they need to move somebody. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a guy that ends up being traded from Toronto. We'll see what happens. O'Reilly. Okay. O'Reilly Acciari traded to Maple Leafs from Blues for draft pick. 3-team deal also includes a wild sending prospect. Yeah, that was the trade essentially. Thank you to repeat that for the people that are just tuning in right now. I'm a Blues fan and I love the trade. Turned 2 pending UFAs for 3 picks. Yeah, you should be very happy. St. Louis really got a haul for Tarasenko, Mikola, Acciari, and O'Reilly. Good D man to come. Yeah, maybe, possibly. But I'm very happy with the recent moves that Kyle Dubas has made to strengthen the Toronto Maple Leafs. I do truly believe that they will pass the first round this year. I'm more than confident. The team is playing fantastic, and with these moves, it just making them a lot better and a lot more deadlier. So, um, honestly, there's a lot to like about the Toronto Maple Leafs moving forward. Blues will trade defenseman. Will they trade for a defenseman or will they trade away at a defenseman? If they trade away a defenseman, maybe Justin Hall. I don't really think so. But if they add a defenseman, it's probably Jake McCabe. But they're asking for like a first round pick and like plus. So, you know, we'll see. St. Louis tanking for Bedard. I mean, they did win the last 3 games, so we'll see what happens there. I think Chicago, Columbus, the Ducks are still the favorites to land Bedard, in my opinion. There is no way Leafs are beating Tampa with Samsonov and Wall. I think he meant Hall. Yeah, it's Hall. Um, maybe we'll see. Anything's possible. Campbell outplayed Vasilevsky last year, and the look of Campbell this year, he's nothing special. Even though he's won the last couple of games, he's playing a lot better. It happens. We'll see what happens there. Um, yeah, but I think that's pretty much it, guys. I think everyone's asked their questions. I think everyone's given their opinions on who won this deal or how they feel about this deal. Like I said, we're going to go for 3 more minutes. We're going to go and for an hour. If you guys have any last questions, just make sure to ask me. Isn't Wall your backup? No, Toronto Maple Leafs backup is Matt Murray, but they're going for a 1A, 1B, so there's not really a backup. It's basically 2 starters. Um, Blues could end up with 4 picks with the first round this year. Yeah, they could. They actually could. Honestly, if they do get a first round pick for Barbashev or they end up trading Perico, and they could land the first round pick as well, that would be freaking fantastic for them. That would be crazy, honestly. St. Louis could trade picks for number 1 and Bedard. Yeah, I mean that's really smart thinking. That's honestly that would be that would be crazy if we saw that. Imagine like Chicago wins a lottery and St. Louis is like, here's our 4 first round picks. Let's do it. We want Bedard. We're going all in for Bedard. Honestly, I think that is quite possible. I don't know what the likelihood of that is. Bedard is a generational talent. I don't know if Chicago or any team that wins the lottery and ends up drafting Bedard would want to do that. Honestly, it's quite crazy if that would happen. 4 firsts for Bedard. Yeah. St. Louis fans, what do you feel about that? Would you trade 4 first round picks, any deep draft like the 2023 draft for Bedard for one single player, even though he's generational? No team is trading Bedard for 4 first round picks. Yeah. Like I said, it's not NHL GM mode, but I mean, we've seen some crazy things happen in the league. But if this was the NBA, yeah, it's a possibility that could happen. They could try it. Yeah. Yeah, hell yes. So we're gonna go for 1 more minute, guys, before we end this live stream. Honestly, what a crazy stream. I'm so thankful for everyone that tuned in. So, guys, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you hadn't already. Chad Summers definitely would. Yeah, he would. So, I mean, maybe the general manager who ends up winning the lottery, whether it's Davidson of the Chicago Blackhawks. Let's say he's like, okay, yeah, that's a crazy deal. This is a deep draft, 2023. There's a lot of great prospects. Let's do it. That's how a GM gets fired. Yeah, maybe. McDavid and Bedard both hit 100 points tonight. Yeah, I think they're gonna be the next, big thing moving forward. They're gonna be spoken about for years to come. Kind of like the Mario Lemieux and like Wayne Gretzky situation. That's how I see it. I know people consider Matthews like Mario Lemieux, but I don't. I think they're two different players. Bedard is not playing NHL. Yeah, that's different. Yeah, Bedard is still playing at the junior level. Um. So yeah, that's it, guys. This is a wrap. We've passed the 1 hour mark. So we'd just like to say thank you so much for tuning into this NHL trade breakdown. I don't think we've ever gone this long for NHL trade breakdown. Maybe with the Sean Monahan trade that happened in the summer and the Nazem Kadri deal, that would be considered a trade breakdown, even though it was a signing and a trade that happened at the same time. But guys, if you haven't liked this video already, please like this video. Please subscribe to our channel. We have a lot of content coming up for the 2023 NHL trade deadline. So get ready for that. We have the Brad Pack coming next week, covering the New Jersey Devils trade targets. We had the win column come on tonight to talk about the Calgary Flames trade targets, and also the whole situation, what's going on with Huberdeau and Alan Walsh, his agent, and Daryl Sutter. You guys could check out that video that was posted tonight. Also, you guys could check out that Steve Dangle collab video that we did 2 days ago. Even though it may not be relevant anymore because, they got their big fish, but we did mention names like Jake McCabe and Gavrikov and Edmondson potentially being defensive options for the Toronto Maple Leafs. But guys, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for tuning into this Young Guns special, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Young Guns podcast. Have a great night, guys, and let's get ready for more trades in the upcoming 2 weeks.